Hello, it's early spring and we're here at the Shrum Mound on McKinley Avenue in Columbus. First, I want to express gratitude to the people that built this mound thousands of years ago. And we're here to practice Qigong. We're going to start with just a simple greeting to the four directions facing east. This is early spring. Gathering energy of the earth. We're going to start with some basic warm-ups today, just a simple Qigong exercises. I want to emphasize that we don't want to make an extreme effort of this. We want to use what's called the 70% rule, which is to only do 70% of your maximum effort in any activity. Also, if you feel like your body has some limitations, I want you to honor and respect those and not push yourself too hard. So we're going to start with a very simple exercise called swinging the arms. I refer to it as the car wash because the elements of this exercise, you have an engine, which in this case is the motor is here, your dantian or your core energy. This is where the power for the movement comes from. Your spine, which is vertical, straight up and down, is like the axle that turns at the waist. And your arms are like the brushes of the car wash, swinging freely. Your knees should be slightly bent, unlocked at least, and your weight should be settled down so that you're almost like you're just starting to sit down. And then we turn and let the arms move freely on their own, twisting at the waist. Head is level, shoulders are level, and the waist stays level. And with a little more twist, you can get a little more freer movement of the arms. And relax the mind, take your breath deep into your abdominal core. And then we're going to switch technique a little bit. We're going to start tapping two key acupressure points. So we're going to direct the arms. Still, the engine for this is the waist and the abdominal core or the dantian. But we're going to move the energy of the movement so that the hands, the palm of the hand strikes in the crease of the shoulder here, which is the lung channel in Chinese medicine. And the other hand will strike at the dimple in your buttocks here, which is where the sciatic nerve comes through. It's part of the gallbladder channel, but it's going to energize the whole lower part of the legs of the body. So we're still doing this simple swinging of the arms, but now we're directing the flow of energy so that we're tapping the lung and gallbladder channels. We're going to clear energy. And then we're going to shift to another type of tapping. And this time it's going to be the inner wrist here and the outer wrist that's doing the tapping. So the inner wrist is going to tap just below the belly button, which is called the Sea of Qi point in the body. And the outer wrist is going to tap in the small of the back on the spine, which is called the Ming Men point of the body. Those 2 points on the wrist are called the inner and outer gates. Again, we're just energizing the Qi in the body. The gate of life and the Sea of Qi points. And we're going to do an additional couple of more of these movements. This one comes from a system of Qigong called the Taoist snake. And it is a type of warm-up. We're going to create S shapes with the arms still turning and twisting at the waist. But now we're moving the arms, so we're going to really loosen up the spine. So ideally, we want to do at least 36 repetitions of each of these. I haven't been counting. And our final one is a cleansing exercise for the liver, and it's a type of pumping. We're pumping the legs now, and the arms are swinging freely forward and back. We're going to detoxify the liver. This one is almost like running in place or walking in place, imitating those similar movements. These are all great warm-ups based on Qigong exercises. And we come to a stop. And now we're going to bend down, stretch out the back, let the arms hang freely, straighten up, bend back, open up, reach for the sky, stretch, tilt to one side, and tilt to the other side, and then draw the energy down and through the whole body and repeat. Breathing deep. And one more time. And then bring the energy down through the brain, the heart, and to the dantian, resting one hand over the other below the belly button. And that'll conclude our first initial warm-ups for Qigong. Okay, this simple set of exercises is designed to build the protective energy, what's called Wei Qi, the external force. It's kind of like your energy field that is around the body that protects us. So this exercise can be used in this particularly trying time to build immunity for the body. And it consists essentially of two patting or slapping and cupping techniques. So one is with a hand cupped like this, and that technique is used on the interior surfaces or the softer surfaces, what are called the yin surfaces of the body. And then a harder slapping technique that's used on the external surfaces or the yang surfaces of the body. So we're going to start with just patting the dantian, the lower dantian, the abdominal core area of the body, then the heart region, the middle dantian, and then patting and tapping the head, especially the forehead and forebrain area, which is the upper dantian region of the body. Back to the heart and the core here. And we're going to start on the lung channel, which starts at the crease of the shoulder and move down with a cupping shaped tapping to the thumb. Then working our way back with a harder slapping technique towards the shoulder on the large intestine channel. And then we repeat that same thing on the other side. Next, we will focus on the stomach meridian or stomach channel, which starts on the cheeks, right under the eyes, and this point right here under the eyes. And we're going to work our way down the center line of the chest here, down the legs, and then the spleen channel, working our way back up the interior of the legs. Next, we're going to tap down towards the pinky on the heart channel and slap back on the small intestine channel. Again on the other side. And then pressing between the eyes and patting the head, back of the neck, and then the lower back on either side of the spine. This is the bladder channel, down the back of the legs. And then the kidney channel on the inside of the legs. Our third time down the arms, we're going to the middle finger and coming back up from the ring finger. Down the middle finger, pericardium, and back up the ring finger, the triple warmer channel. And our final set of channels, we're going to start sides of the head here, sides of the neck, sides of the chest. This is the gallbladder channel down the sides of the legs, and coming up the liver channel, and ending with patting of the dantian. So this next group of exercise comes from the silk reeling or coiling silk traditions, which are called Chan Si, which emphasizes circular movement, continuity of movement, and complementarity, the idea of polarity of yin and yang. So we want to keep these kind of movements in those three concepts, the three C's of complementarity, circularity, and continuity. Also, silk reeling represents an opportunity for us, and it's a good exercise to do each morning, to mobilize every single one of our joints. So we're going to start with the jaws and just clack the jaws, and then swirl your tongue in your mouth, generate a bit of saliva, and we're going to just swallow that saliva as a way of increasing the immunity of the body. As the saliva hits your stomach, imagine your stomach being a cauldron of fire, and that saliva turns into steam, and that steam delivers its healing energy to every single cell of the body. We can do that 3 times. So clacking the jaws, swirling around the mouth with the tongue, and swallowing. Next, we're just going to start with simple turning the head from side to side, keeping the neck and head isolated from the rest of the body. The rest of the body remains still as we turn from side to side. It's very important to go slowly and deliberately to feel what's going on in the joints of the body. We can vary this exercise a little bit by shaping that movement with figure 8s also. So we're pushing out the chin and retreating that and moving the jaw in and out as we go in the figure 8 type of circle. Next, we'll bow the head and rotate all the way around. Keep the arms hanging loosely, feet are shoulder width apart, knees are unlocked. 3 times one direction, and then reverse direction. Again, listen for what's going on in your own body. And we want to repeat that, shifting, switching directions 3 times the other way. And once more, 3 times. Now we're going counterclockwise. And this should be repeated. Typically, these movements should be repeated at least 9 times on each side. We're going to do a little bit of an abbreviated set here just so we can cover that for time. Next, we're going to bend at the waist and then move the entire body in that circular movement, resting the hands on the thighs. 3 times, and then reverse. And again, you can repeat these three movements. I would suggest doing that 9 times for a complete set. Next, we're going to roll the shoulders back, so almost like you're shrugging your shoulder, but we're going to start with the right shoulder. And just roll that back, let the arm hang loosely, but lift the shoulder and move it in a circle. And then on the left, and now we're going to roll the right shoulder forward. And then the left shoulder forward. And then we can do both shoulders back at the same time. This brings the shoulder blades together in the back. And we can also then finish this set and then move both shoulders forward at the same time. It's kind of like the Hulk here, separating the shoulder blades. Our next movement is to take, this is kind of like a bird's wing. We open and then push forward, upward, and then draw back, pushing the elbow back and stretching this part of the chest here with the pectoral muscles, and twisting at the waist, and then coming back around to the front. And repeating on the other side. And next we will push back with the elbow low, and then turn over and come out with a soft punch here. It's almost as though you were jabbing somebody behind you and then punching. You want to try to do this smoothly, though. And then we conclude this section with some cleansing breaths. So we're going to come up the up the midline of the body, reach overhead, breathing in, and then breathing out, the hands descend to the sides. Breathing in, up, and down, descending to the sides. And once more, breathe in, deep breath. Rotate the hands. That's that. Okay, we're going to do another section of silk reeling or coiling silk movements. And we're going to start with an exercise called circling heaven and earth. So the movement starts with one hand up, the other down. The palms are facing towards the body. And as the upper hand heads down, it's going to twist so that the palm is down and the lower hand is going to face palm up. And I'm going to turn my body at the waist in the direction of the hand that's going down. And then as I reach the end of that movement, I'm going to turn back so that I'm facing straight ahead. Now the other hand is up, the other hand is down. And again, I repeat the same idea on the other side. So I'm reaching to the heavens and to the earth. So circling heaven and earth. Some of you think of this as the Matrix. We lean back and do this in slow motion. But we really want to keep a fairly vertical, straight up and down posture. Following that, we're going to do what's called competing dragons. And this one, we twist the fists, shifting the weight right, twisting the fist the other way, shifting the weight left. What you want to do is feel the strength of this twist all the way across your back, as though you had one arm with two ends. So these are the two heads of the dragon that are connected. So we're twisting, shifting side to side. Another important factor in this is to keep the head level, shoulders level, and waist level. And the next one in this set is what's called snake coil. So with one hand comes up and rotates around and revolves like this. The other hand will do the same thing on the other side. Simultaneously, I'm going to shift my weight towards the hand as it goes up, away from the hand as it goes down, and then I'm going to add both hands together so that I'm shifting side to side while coiling my arms. Again, breathing deep and slow. Keeping the shoulders, head, and waist as level. And next we're going to do what we could call the iconic Tai Chi movement, which is cloud hands. The hands drift across in front as though they were clouds. So floating across. So as my waist turns to the right, my right hand is up and the palm is facing me. And it is drifting across. The left hand is trailing behind it. As I reach the end of my movement, they switch. So one sinks, the other rises. And I want to go around this turn here without a hard stop. I want to treat it like it's a traffic circle. I'm going to go around a curve so that I keep the movements using those three principles of continuous movement, circular movements, and complementarity. So I'm paying attention to yin and yang here, the left and right movement, the up and down movement. Another example of a movement like this is called splitting the horse's mane. And I'm circling around. I'm making a small circle here, splitting, and then making a large circle to return, or switching on the other side. This is also similar to what's called diagonal flying, and these movements are found in the Tai Chi form. We'll close this section again with some cleansing breaths. This time we'll come up from the outside and go down the center. So in our last set, I forgot this simple exercise to loosen the hands and joints of the wrists. Basically creating figure eights with the hands, or you could say tracing the yin and yang symbol with the hands. Our next section starts with what's called grinding the grain. So we're going in a circle with the hips. The hands are floating as though they're floating above the water, surface of the water. This is also sometimes referred to as fishing in muddy water, like you're searching for a fish in the water. So we're using a forward stance and then shifting back into a back stance as we do this. And we can switch sides. So as I'm moving, my left foot is forward. I'm going counterclockwise with my arms. And with my right foot forward, I would be doing clockwise. Next is what's called hula hips. So we want to try to isolate the movement of the hip here and the pelvic bowl. So we're going around in a circle. It's as though your pelvic bowl were a roulette wheel, and the marble or the steel marble is moving around the rim of that bowl, and then switching directions. So particularly for men, this is an area where there's a lot of stiffness. Men don't really move this area very much, not nearly as much as women do, so it's important to loosen up these hips. Next one is kind of like a Kegel exercise. We're going to squeeze the fists, and as we do that, we're going to squeeze the perineum together. The perineum is the seam at the bottom of your body, and that's kind of holding all of the internal organs in this bowl. You want to keep that seam really well together. And as we do that, we're going to press forward with the pubic bone and upward, like this, and then release. And when we release, we push downward and back. So squeeze up and forward, release, down and back. Squeeze up and forward, and release down and back. Then with both hands, like tiger paws, we're going to grasp the knees and go circling around the knees. And reverse direction. You also want to loosen up this hip joint here. So I'm going to rest my weight on my left leg and circle with the right, clockwise, pause, and then circle to the left, and counterclockwise with the right leg. And then rest the right foot down and circle counterclockwise with the left, and then clockwise. And pointing the toes, pointing the heel, inverting the ankle, everting the ankle, and squeezing the toes like you're making little fists with your toes. Toe, heel, invert, and evert. Toe, heel, invert, and evert. Switch to the other side, make little fists, toe, heel, invert, evert, toe, heel, invert, and evert. So to conclude this section, we just want to shake everything out. Stomp your feet, loosen up the arms, head, neck, everything just very loose. And that concludes our segment of exercises using silk reeling. So we're going to start this section with standing post, a series of a few different standing postures. And I want to emphasize a couple of key points about these as we go through the process of learning these exercises. So we'll start with the feet fairly close together and just relax the body so that the energy of the muscles is relaxed and sinking into the earth. It's the water weight of the body, which is 70% of your basic weight, is sinking. Where the bones are rising, the bones are lifting. So the bones and the structure of the body are floating up, almost as though you had a string attached to the top of your head, lifting you up. At the same time, you might feel as though there was another string, like a plumb line, attached to your tailbone or to your perineum and pulling down. What this will do for the spinal cord and spinal column vertebrae is, if this was our vertebrae stacked up, the lower vertebrae would be sinking and the upper vertebrae would be rising, which allows for a small gap between the vertebrae, which takes pressure off of the spine. So we start with what's called wuji, or empty stance, or nothingness. And this follows the pattern of the creation concept in Taoism. So we start with emptiness, nothingness. So empty your mind and breathe quietly. From that emptiness, a spontaneous spark of creativity emerges, the principle of creation, which is present in everything that exists. So our next phase is to think, not moving anything, but just to shift from that emptiness to a feeling of oneness, or a sense of oneness with all things. And then we can start by filling the weight of the body as though you're pouring water from one side to the other. In other words, don't mechanically shift your weight, but just fill the left foot with all of your weight, sink down into the earth, and the right foot becomes empty, and up on the ball of the foot, and then separate. Feet step to the side and rebalance. So now that oneness has been divided into yin and yang, into polarity of masculine and feminine, of light and dark, of yin and yang. So plus and minus charges. And once we've divided into those two, we want to inflate the arms with qi. And so they're going to just float away from the body just ever so slightly. And then under the armpits, they're going to open up a little bit. And this is a readiness posture. The knees are slightly bent. Fingers are tingling as though you were in a gunfight at the OK Corral, ready for anything. From that yin and yang separation, the energy dynamic allows our hands to float up in front, and all the things that are created emerge from that interaction between yin and yang. So we float the hands up to about the height of the eyes, and then everything just settles down, just a very slight bit. This is the Tai Chi posture, opening movement of the Tai Chi. Fingers are separated, slightly bent, curved. Elbows are dropped down, shoulders are relaxed, head is level, the tongue rests gently on the roof. Breath is deep into the abdomen and slow. When you're beginning to learn this standing posture, you're going to need to spend at least a minute or two holding the posture. And then as you develop the skill of patience and internal calm and quiet, you can hold the posture for a longer period of time. We're going to do 5 different postures, so each one of them ultimately should be held for about 4 or 5 minutes, so you have a 20-minute sequence of standing. We're not going to take that time on the video, but keep that in mind. And when you're ready to finish this posture, the hands just melt down. I'm going to pivot on the left foot and on the heel. So the heel is down, the toes are up, and we're going to form a shape with our hands, which is called playing the guitar. So my left foot is pointing outward, my left hand is up, and my right hand is close to the left elbow. The palms are facing towards each other. And all of the weight of my body is now on the back leg, on my right leg. So this forward leg is empty. It's just holding a posture, a point of balance. And again, just holding that posture. Start with a minute or 2. And increase your time. Breathing deep, slow. An alternative version of this for the side is a cobra gesture or a snake gesture, where the foot is now on the ball in a posture that could be kicking, and now my left hand is forming the mouth of a cobra, and my right hand is under the elbow. Again, the weight is still back. So the benefits of this are similar. This is a defensive posture. This is a more offensive movement, ready for striking. This is protecting. When you're finished with this posture, pivot towards the front, let the hands sink down. Our next standing posture is to allow the hands again to float up, and this time we're going to form a circle with the arms called embracing the moon. The fingers are pointing towards each other. Shoulders are relaxed, chest is soft, breath is deep. And in this posture, you can imagine the energy, the qi circulating as though this were your nervous system and these are the nerves, and that energy is jumping across the synaptic gap of the nerves from one hand to the other, circling. And you can do that circle with each breath and then reverse the circle. So ideally, you want to hold this posture for 9 breaths each direction of circle. For a few minutes. And then when you're done with that, let that sink. And then we pivot on the other side. We're going to do the playing the guitar, pointing the other direction. Again, the weight is back. Heel on the ground. Draw in and create the alternative, which is the cobra, or the snake. And hold this for several minutes. If you're watching this on video, you can just pause and hang on to your posture. We're going to go forward just to demonstrate each of the techniques. So when you're done with this, pivot back to the front, the hands sink down. And one more time, the arms are going to float up in front. this time we're going to hold a small ball in the hands here, as though we're crushing that ball, but without any tension. We're holding this small ball in the hands, and this concentrates our energy. This posture here called holding the ball is also the beginning of our next set of exercises, which are called tendon strengthening. And just let that go. Everything sinks down. And return to that emptiness that we started. Okay, we're going to start with tendon and sinew strengthening exercises. So these are to develop a kind of wiry strength. If you imagine like a suspension bridge with big cables, those cables are holding enormous amounts of weight, and they represent an incredible amount of power. But the energy is not being exerted. So if we develop this tendon strength, we can carry weight, we can do many activities without exertion if we develop this kind of tendon strength. So this is a really key part of the strength building aspects of Qigong, is to develop this quality of tendon and sinew strength. And these exercises are designed to do that. The first one, and this set that we're going to do right now, is from the traditionally considered to have developed in the Shaolin Temple, which are more of a tradition out of Zen or Chan Buddhism rather than specifically Taoism. Those things all kind of get blended in history. So we start with bringing the hands together like a prayer. Some versions of this will bring the hands here and just hold that prayer posture. Others, and what we're going to do today, which develops more of the tendon strength, this is called Wei Tuo presents the pestle, and we're going to turn the hands so that the fingers point towards the chin. This creates some torque and twisting of the fibers of the arms. And these postures, like the standing posts, are going to be held for a couple of minutes, typically. If your arms get tired, you can release the tension and then bring it back. The second of this set is one of my favorites. It's called plucking and resetting the stars. And it represents this idea of changing one's destiny by plucking, by grasping the stars. We change the setting of the stars so that changes our destiny in the heavens. So we start with what's called a cat stance. So my left foot is at a 45-degree angle. My right foot is on the ball, close to the instep of the left. My left hand is behind my back. I swallow my back like this. And I reach out with my right hand and form a beak. And I grasp with the beak and then twist the hand so that that beak points towards my face. And there's a bending of the elbow here, just holding that posture. And want to do this on the other side with the right foot at the angle, the left on the ball, reaching out with the left hand, plucking and resetting the stars, changing my destiny. Holding that, breathing into the down. And letting that go. Our next one is in a forward stance. And just to clarify how a forward stance looks, if I bring my feet together like this, I'm going to turn my left foot 45 degrees, separate my heels by about the width of my shoulders, and then step forward with my right foot. So that foot is pointing straight ahead, the left foot is at a 45-degree angle, and then my weight is going to shift forward about 2/3 of my weight over the forward leg, so that if I were to look down, my knee and my toes would be in alignment, like that. And then I'm going to form fists and twist. And that forward arm, my right foot is forward, my right arm is forward. My left foot is back, my left arm is back, and I'm twisting. And you can see the torque is coming out of my core here. And that forward arm moves slightly, about 10-15 degrees away from the center line of my body. Again, elbows are bent. And this one is called pulling 9 oxen by their tails. So if I were to grasp the reins to pull the oxen, doing the beasts of burden doing the heavy work. Switch sides, same idea on the other side. Again, holding these postures. And you want to get this twist in. So you want to kind of rev up the torquing of the body here to create that. Our next one is, again, we're going to just do a basic stance, put my hand behind my back, and I'm going to reach and grab the ear lobe and twist down, like that. This comes from the idea of, this is called 9 ghosts draw their swords. So I reach behind as though I'm a ninja with my sword in the scabbard behind my back, and I reach that and then strike. Turn here, grabbing the ear and twisting. But the idea here is I'm going to strike. So we can do this as a dynamic movement like this, or as a static movement like this. 9 ghosts draw their swords. All right, so our next exercise can be done. We're on a kind of a damp grass here, but I'm going to do this the full exercise. But an alternate version is to create claws like a tiger, strike out, go down, roll back. Great exercise to engage the whole body. It's a forward stance that then shifts to a back stance on one side and then on the other. But for a more dynamic strength training version, we're going to start with bending down and letting everything stretch out. And then bringing the hands down to the ground and like a push-up position, sinking down almost to the ground, then sliding forward and then up. Raising the tail up, push-up position, sinking down, sliding forward and then up. Sink down, slide forward, and then up. Once you've completed a set of those, you want to release some of that intense energy that's formed by doing that. And to do that, we form double fists and then punch. open the fists, and draw the energy back. Punch. And you can make a shout if you like, or not. But what's recommended is that if I did, let's say I did 6 or 3, whatever, of the crouching tigers, then I would do twice as many double punches to release that. Our next exercise is a wide stance. It's called a horse riding stance. And that feet are straight ahead. I'm going to sit like I'm sitting on a horse here. Hands out to the side. And this is called 3 plates falling to the ground. The plates represent these 3 planes of levelness: the head, shoulders, and waist. I want to keep them parallel to the ground, and I'm just going to sink down. So in other words, I don't want to be bending forward like this. Even if I can only drop an inch or 2, that's what I do. But you can go down as low as you're comfortable doing. Hold that posture. Then come back up and repeat. Three plates falling to the ground. And we're going to do one more in this set. So I'm going to get in a forward stance. And in this exercise, I'm going to move from forward to back. And I want to really feel the chi, the power of the energy coming from my core. So it's going to come out from my core as I shift into the forward leg, turning the hands over or reaching overhead like this. Again, I don't want to go beyond knee and toe alignment here. And then as I rock back, I'm going to pull all the energy of the universe into my center. Push out from the core, pull in. This is the Black Dragon enters his cave. And switch sides, same thing on the other side. Black Dragon enters his cave. There's a few other, what we could call supplemental exercises or methods. We want to do a little bit of stretching. So one of the best stretches in the morning is what's called a phoenix stretch. And I'm going to create what's called a sword hand with my fingers and grasp them with the other hand. And that's going to be behind my back, like this. And as I do that, my right hand is in the fingers and my right foot goes forward. And as I breathe out, I'm going to bend, straightening out the right leg and bend towards that leg while lifting up with my arms. Breathing out, breathe in, relax that stretch. Take a step a little further, breathe out, stretch. Come back up, take another little step further, breathe out, and stretch. And you can continue that and do the same thing on the other side. Stretch, breathing out, come back up. Step a little further, stretch, breathing out, come back up. Stretch, breathing out, come back up. Other stretches could be a hamstring stretch, which is helpful if you have support, so you're going to grab the foot and stretch like that. We can do other stretches, but the other thing is also just to loosen up the legs a little more. We're going to do a kicking exercise. So we start in a forward stance, my hands up in front of my chest or above my head, and as I bring my hands down, they're going to push back. As my hands push back, I'm going to kick forward like this. This just opens up that leg more. Do the same thing on the other side, kicking. And there are a number of other kicks, a heel kick that comes out of the Tai Chi form, a roundhouse kick, many other types of kicking that you can do as well to strengthen the legs and get everything energized and moving. We're going to conclude all of this set of exercise with a simple process of gathering the chi from the earth, gathering the chi from the heavens, and gathering the chi from all living things and our loved ones, and storing that chi into our three dantians, our three centers of energy. So first, bending down, gathering the chi of the earth, drawing that up, and storing that in the lower dantian. Gathering the chi of the heavens, cosmos, drawing that into the upper dantian, into our infinite mind, and drawing the chi from all the living things and from our loved ones, and drawing that into the middle dantian, or the heart. So we gather the energy of the earth and store it in our core gut, our instincts. Gather the energy of the heavens, store that in our mind, or our insight, and gather the energy of all our loved ones, store that in the heart, our intuition. One more time. Gather the energy of our loved ones. And this time we're going to end with gathering the energy of the heavens. And as we bring that into the body, we're going to push that into the mind, through to the heart, and into our core, lower dantian. Place one hand over the other. And then we're going to make small circles, clockwise. Going up on the right, across on the top, and down on the left. So clockwise circle. Typically we want to do 36 of these. And then reverse direction. Counterclockwise. And again, 36 of these. And come to a point of stillness. And just a word about this, the clockwise direction is the flow of the digestive system, so it's for elimination of toxins, so it's a detoxification process. The reverse direction, counterclockwise, is for depleted energy, to restore and retain energy in the body. So holding on to things that if you're weakened. So normally we would do these in balance, but if you are in a weakened condition, and particularly if you have diarrhea or anything like that, or you have a health problem, you want to do the counterclockwise. If you are in a strengthened position but need to detoxify, you want to clean out, you want to do, or if you're constipated, just do a clockwise. And always end resting the hands on the dantian, returning to silence.